Live from New York, it's set. Oh, wait, that's my other job. Sorry. Here we go. Live from climbing ladders and dodging barrels, it's the Socially Awkwards podcast. I am Mario, and he is Luigi, and we are sorry, but your princess is in another pod. It's going to be another good episode today, Brandon. Today we're going to talk about the future of video games. Are you excited?
I'm very excited. I'm excited for the past, the present, and especially the future.
The past, present, and the future. Yes, those are all the three tenses, I believe. I'm glad you covered them all. First of all, I want to go over, because you've talked about this a few times on the pod. I want to talk about your favorite video games from the past, and then maybe we'll talk about what you'd like to see in the future from maybe some of your favorite games. But why don't you go ahead and tell the world, the 60 people that might watch this podcast, and I'm really giving us a lot of credit there, but about what your favorite games are.
Well, I am kind of a variety gamer in the sense that the kind of games I like don't all get pinned into one genre of games. And I started off when I was very young, and so this is like the early 90s. For me, probably like around 1990-ish was when I was really first exposed to video games.
Dating yourself.
Yeah, we're talking about NES and Sega Genesis. So this is like the Mario Brothers, and a big one for me was the Sonic the Hedgehog games.
Yeah.
And then there's lots of other games at that time that was my first like introduction into games that were in the RPG genre. This is like Dragon Warrior. And I mean these games are a little bit more obscure, but nowadays, so like through my entire life I've loved games and I've been a gamer. And then more recently I can throw out a couple titles that really kind of set the stage for the genres that they inhabit. And these are games all the way from like Minecraft, which is like some people who don't play it is like Minecraft is like that kid's game, but it also is very deep and it fosters creativity and it's sort of like limitless, endless, exploration and adventure.
I've never played it. Never played Minecraft. Watched the movie. Thought that was decent. Never played the game. Yeah.
That's funny. Well, I played the game, never watched the movie.
Okay. Nice.
And so we're two opposites there.
All right.
I think Minecraft is a game that's easy to look down on from a distance if you haven't played it, but there's really a lot there for you if you ever did dive in and play it. And then aside from Minecraft, I've played my fair share of first-person shooter, like ultra competitive games, Call of Duties, Battlefields, and games like that. And then I also have played quite a bit of RPGs that I really love that are close to my heart, like games that in like the Final Fantasy series.
Yeah,
right?
everybody.
So,
I've never really. I've watched people play Final Fantasy, but I've never really been like. I was actually having more fun watching like my friends play, like because that was like the first time like I watched somebody play a game and I'm like, damn, this is like a fucking movie. This is like that's like when it started really getting like that.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and Final Fantasy really, I mean, like, it's had its diehard fans throughout, probably since Final Fantasy 1, but for me, Final Fantasy 7 on the PlayStation 1 was a really interesting game, and it really, I would say, opened my mind up to, like, what an RPG could be and what it could feel like to play
Is there
one.
a favorite amongst Final Fantasy fans as far as which one is the best?
I think it's 7. There might be some...
I was going to say, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, there might be some argument between people, but 7 is generally thought of to be like the darling Final Fantasy, like the absolute best one.
Okay.
And not just because the story objectively is good and the gameplay was really great for its time, but also because it was innovative. It was one of the more innovative RPGs. And it was 3-dimensional. Before then, all the Final Fantasies were basically 2-dimensional games. And then 7 came out on the PlayStation and really took advantage of the new ability for the consoles to be able to have 3-dimensional environments that you could walk around in.
Nice.
And so...
what number are they at now?
Do you know? I don't know. Maybe like 15, 16 maybe.
Jeez, all right.
Yeah, we're getting up there, yeah.
Yeah.
I could go on for a lot longer. I do want to make a honorable mention to like certain types of strategy games because I think this crosses over with some games that you play. this is like it's like SimCity, like City
Yeah,
Skylines. I think you play
yeah.
a bit of that, right? The City
I do play,
Skylines.
yeah, I do, and obviously back in the day, I was a big SimCity fan. Yeah,
Yeah. Uh, and I have played quite a bit of City Skylines, and SimCity. I played SimCity 2000. I didn't play there was like a classic one in the early 90s or mid 90s I didn't play.
yeah, yeah.
But then I kind of played almost all the SimCities at least to some point. And then there's games that are more strategy like Civilization. There's a series of games called Civilization, and we're
Yeah.
up to like 7 now. I've enjoyed those games. And yeah, you pretty much name it. If it's a high caliber game out there, then I probably have played it or enjoyed it or have gotten into it. And then I also play lots of, obscure games. So I'm all about it. I'm both feed in on gaming, and am excited to talk about what the future holds. Yeah.
All right, all right. Um, well, first of all, I want to say that I was never a big Sonic fan, but I never really had a Sega when I was growing up. But I did like what I'm one of these people who likes watching people play the video games, like a lot of the different games. And obviously, there's a niche for that on like Twitch and YouTube and all that stuff, anyways, where people do that. But I was a big Mario guy. I was Nintendo all the way when I was younger, so I was playing all the Marios. I remember just 10 years ago, I beat Lost Levels, which is one of the hardest Mario games that they have. And I was in my 30s, and I was really excited about that. I had to go tell everybody about it. But yeah, and then Zelda. I mean, gosh, you don't get me started on like Zelda, and for Zelda's kind of like that Final Fantasy, I guess, of Nintendo in a way. I don't know. I mean, they're obviously different, but as far as how big the games are, and like you were talking about how Final Fantasy VII is probably the most cherished amongst all the Final Fantasies, I believe that Ocarina of Time would be the most cherished amongst, in almost the same situation where it was the first Zelda that was in the Nintendo 3D world, like the three-dimensional and stuff, the 64-bit. Um, and so I think that might have a lot to do with like people, saying that that's their favorite part of the game, whether it's Final Fantasy or Zelda. But yeah, I love those. And then, you can't really go wrong with a good Grand Theft Auto. I know there's going to be a lot of people being like, you guys aren't talking about Grand Theft Auto, and Grand Theft Auto 6 is what? It's like December now, I think, is when the release is. And there's a lot of people talking about that. I mean, that's an immersive world. And then yeah, City Skylines, a lot of that kind of stuff. I also do a lot. I'm not sure if you do, but I play a lot of sports games. So whether it's NBA 2K, I've played Madden, MLB. I don't really get into the hockey stuff that much, or FIFA. Um, but yeah, I think we kind of have, I think, between the two of us, we have a good array of types of games that we like to play. So I think it's going to be interesting. Is there anything that out of any of the games that you mentioned, is there something you want to see happen in the future, like that you would really want to see? Like whether it's like, I mean, I know they brought like some Sonics back on what did they bring those back on? Like, was that Xbox or was that PlayStation? I'm not even sure because I don't even know who owned Sega at the time back
I
then.
think PlayStation. I don't know if it was on Xbox at all.
Okay,
But I know a while back they had a Sonic. So they've come out with more Sonic games.
okay,
Um, it was a few years ago, maybe 5 or so. They came out with a Sonic game on the PlayStation that was sort of a love letter to the old Sonic games, where it was all
nice.
2D, and it was like the level design was made by people who were like fans of the original Sonic, like Sonic 1, Sonic 2, maybe Sonic
Oh,
3.
cool, cool.
And so at that time when that came out, I bought that and I played through the entire game, and it was a really fantastic game, and it absolutely was a love letter. I could tell it was made with love. It felt like I was playing a continuation of these games, but just on a modern console, and it was all new levels. So that was really great. What would I like to see? I mean, I can get into all sorts of stuff. There's a couple things at the technology level that I'm really excited to see, as far as with some of the games that I love, especially like RPG. Like when I say RPG, I think there's games like, so this company Bethesda has been making these games, the Elder Scrolls series and the Fallout series of games, and I think that, have you played either of those?
I have not, no. Watched the Fallout series, but have not
Well,
watched. I mean, I'm
there you
watching
go.
that, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So these games, and like Skyrim, and also like Oblivion, Morrowind, and then the Fallout 3, 4, Fallout New Vegas. These games are really there's quite a lot of people that love them. Also, Bethesda came out with Starfield, which was a good game, but it wasn't without some of its issues. And I think part of the issues that we're seeing with these games is like it feels like we're hitting a wall as far as how immersive they can be compared to the predecessors, like all the earlier games in the series now. And where I think we're gonna go next is seeing AI involved in these games.
Yeah,
And I
definitely.
think and what people don't like is the idea of AI taking jobs and of artists and people who are making the stuff for the games.
Yeah.
And that's not what that's not I think what the public is clamoring for. What I want to see is AI involved in the actual because all these games have AI, whether you know it or not. It's just is
Right.
it smarter AIs or dumb AI? We
Right.
call these usually NPCs. Like what is the
Yeah.
AI of the quote
Yeah.
unquote NPC, which means non-player character, right? And right now it's usually somebody who's standing on a street corner who has like 3 or 4 different responses based on what your conversation, or sometimes it's not even that. Sometimes you're walking up and you're just clicking a button and they have one canned response they're going to give you, and that's not very immersive. That kind of takes me out of the experience.
Yeah.
So what I'm really excited to see, and I think what we're going to see very soon, is AI being used to have these responses be more, so these interactions in communications be more unpredictable and be more so what we can do is we can have it be in line with the character you're talking to, right? The makers of this character can create a whole document that says like this character is this age, they have this personality, this is their history, this is their, you know what I mean? They can create a scaffolding, and
Right.
then they can take the AI and say, here's your scaffolding, now have a response that's appropriate for that
It's
character.
like real time generated dialogue. Like that
That's
like
exactly it.
yeah. Yeah, which would be great. Like are they are they doing that in GTA 6? I mean, I've seen a few things. I haven't read a lot about it, but I don't know. Or are they really hush hush right now about anything?
They're hush hush.
Okay, that's
I
what I
don't know.
figured, but
If I had to guess, I would say it's possible they might have some of that technology in here.
yeah.
Um, but since this game has been in development for like, I don't know how, like 20 years, it feels like,
Yeah.
there's a good chance. I mean, a lot of these design decisions have been made for GTA 6 before the current rise of the AI era, even, right? So the AI era has been happening since somewhere mid pandemic, right?
Right.
And um even before that, GTA 6 already had, like I said, these things are decided upon, like technologies and how they're going to play out. And then
Right.
the work is being done for another 7 years, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll be able to pivot the choices they're making for GTA 6 to be able to include AI. But I can guarantee you that GTA 7 will probably have AI. Yeah,
15
GTA,
years from now
yeah,
we'll have
15,
it.
15 short years. I'll be able to start collecting
Yeah.
my social security for being old enough past a
Right.
certain age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I do like what about the fact that because we had discussed one time about AI in movies where it would be cool, like we're gonna get to a point where you had talked about like a Spotify for like AI movies, like that kind of thing, where like you're gonna be able to just kind of go, or like the fact that you're gonna be able to create a prompt at some point in the future, and just a whole movie's gonna come out, and you can be
Yeah.
able to do. Now, I'm assuming that they would be the same for games at some point where people are going to be able to do that. Like, are you for that? Are you against it? Are you middle
I'm for
ground?
it.
You're
I'm
for it.
for it. I mean, already right now I can use AI, and with one prompt, I can create an entire working game. But what kind of game is it? It's usually like a Tetris clone, it's a Snake game, or it's
Right.
like some really rudimentary clone of like Doom. If anybody remembers like the early Doom games
Yeah.
where you're
Yeah.
just, you just have a gun and you're walking
One of the
around
first
shooting.
3D shooters, or was it 3D
That's
or
right.
yeah, 3D.
Well,
Yeah.
so it appears as 3D, yes, but
But
technically the technology actually didn't render it as 3D. It rendered it as sort of two-dimensional, and then they used certain visual tricks to make it appear 3D as
gotcha.
you're playing it.
Was it the
That's
first person point of view game, or was that? I mean, there might have been some others, but was
no,
that the
no. It wasn't the first.
Okay,
There's
but
an earlier game called Wolfenstein
oh,
that
that's
had
right. I
sort of that
forgot
view.
about Wolfenstein. Yeah.
Yep. And then I think before Wolfenstein there
That's
was
a
some
cross
early
between a wolf and Jeffrey
Stein.
Epstein.
Oh.
Epstein. Sorry.
Yeah.
Wolfenstein, I
So,
think.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Um yeah, the game took place on an island. It was a big
Yeah,
challenge to get
it
off.
was crazy, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds of screaming everywhere.
And Nazis everywhere. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Nazis. Okay.
yeah.
All right. All right.
That was Wolfenstein.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
were killing Nazis.
That was, yeah, I forgot.
So, and I think before Wolfenstein, there was another game that had there's some early games that look more like tech demos and not really big blockbuster breakouts,
Right.
right? So that had sort of this view that looked like you were looking from first person. Um, so yeah, so you can use a prompt right now to recreate some of these early ones. Yeah, I think that, like you said, with the movies and the Spotify aspect, I think we're going to see the games sort of like a Cambrian explosion of games when AI technology develops to the point where the average person is no longer gatekept from being able. So now the quality of the game will be about the quality of the vision, and it won't be about the quality of your ability to code it, right? And so that's going to open up a lot of doorways. I'm excited for that too, because I think that I have a couple of game ideas in my head where I'm like, do I want to spend the next 5 years like trying to hack away and like, I didn't go to school I do coding already, but I didn't go to school for like game coding, design and
Yeah.
development. And so, there's just
Imagine
things.
doing it for like 5 years and then you're like, oh God, I finally completed this. And then the next day, like they come out with like some AI thing that just does it all for you.
Yeah,
And you're like, son of a bitch.
that's rough. That's rough.
Yeah.
But I think that I think that it's still going to be, I mean, look, if you go to the store and you go to like the wine aisle and there's tons of wines there, and I think there's lots of wines that like we're inundated with wines. We have plenty of selections, plenty of cheap wines, but I think that certain wines are still considered a high caliber. They have a human touch, or they have a story involved with them, and people still
Right.
buy them.
No
So
AI
even
wines yet.
no
They're
AI.
coming
Well,
though. They're
yeah,
coming.
who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know if that's a good analogy or not, but I think with games we're gonna see, a lot more games, which is just gonna give us a lot more options. But I think we're gonna still want to. We're still gonna know there's a difference between AI slop games and games that were made with love, whether they were using AI tools or not. I think that the love will still be able to be sensed by the people playing them. So
Yeah,
it'll
I
separate
totally
those.
agree. Like and I think people talk about all the time about AI taking jobs. And no doubt it is going to take jobs, but we have talked about this before a few times on the podcast. Prompting itself is a job. When you're prompting in an LLM, if let's say you're using Suno, you're trying to make music, or you're prompting to make an image on, whatever, or you're just trying to talk to, like, there's a special way to prompt. There's people out there that sell like prompts, right? Like that. So you still have to have a level of a level of artistic value, like of talent, to be able to do that. Everything's going to have some type of skill level. So I think, people who don't use AI, I think they're just like, oh, wow, these guys can just go on and say 5 words and it creates. It's like, no, it's not like that. Like it's still maybe someday it's like that. I don't know. But right now it's like, you really have to do a lot to make the outcome that you want happen. And so I just wanted to get that off to people is because I think there is somewhat of a stigma there where it's like, oh, it's going to take all the jobs, and I get it. Like eventually it probably will, right? But right now let's enjoy it. Let's enjoy the music, the art that comes out of it, the music, the movies, the pictures, the games, whatever comes out of it. And yeah, I think we are both on the same page. I think it's going to be really fun to see what not only these companies can do, but what AI can do. But what is the future of the big three, do you think? So what's the future of Microsoft and Xbox and Sony and PlayStation and Nintendo? Like, what are the future of them? Like, are they, because they're going to have to get on board or get left behind, right? Which is pretty much the AI
That's it.
train now.
Yeah, that's a tricky question
Is something
because
going to emerge like all of a
there's
sudden?
there's just to follow some headlines. Just recently, it was announced. So Microsoft just recently announced the most significant restructure in Xbox history, laying off 3,200 employees, which is roughly 20% of its gaming workforce and divesting from 5 prominent game studios. So recently, in the recent history, Xbox was acquiring all these game studios and acquiring investment, interest in different studios. I think they wanted to have a bunch of studios under one belt. And so they're divesting from 5 of them. I think I have a list here. None of these are very one of them is id Software and Bethesda Game Studios. So Bethesda is the maker of the Fallout, Elder Scrolls games. ZeniMax, Obsidian, Arcane, Ninja Theory, Double Fine Productions. So the big 3, I think the big 3 are sort of in trouble right now. I don't know if they're in trouble in terms of like they're not going to be around in the future, but I think that there is a democratization coming down the pipe, and also there's been a lot of there's a mixture of things, right? There's a bunch of overhiring that happened during the pandemic because everybody was shut in for a long time.
Right.
Technology was exploding, and along with that was the gaming industry was exploding at a rate that I think that gaming will continue to increase, but I think that the pandemic was like an artificial bubble, that made us think it was going parabolic when in reality we're just on a steady incline, right? And it's increasing at a more steady rate. So I think we're still trying to get off the edge of that bubble from the pandemic. But I don't know. And there's also the other side. You said the big 3, but I think that if I can add a fourth to that, the big 4, I would add Steam to that, because Steam is like it's the number 1 gaming provider on PC.
Right.
And
right.
I think that Steam is actually going to pick up more and more market share because we're seeing things like it being available on Linux machines and on Macs. Like they're doing a lot of work to try to make it work on other types of PCs. And also we got the Steam Deck, which is competing in the handheld market. And then we also have the Steam Machine, which was just announced, although albeit that it has some controversy because it's a little bit expensive. It's more expensive than what people thought it was going to be. So yeah, I don't know what these studios are going to do. I think that we're going to see the computer gaming and console gaming sort of continue to merge into one sort of spectrum kind of unit where it's like you don't know if it's more of a PC or more of a console or it's somewhere in between. And we're also going to see, I think, VR continue to do interesting things.
Right. Do you like VR? Have you played any VR games?
I played VR and I think it's quite amazing. I think we passed the threshold where, like, I think the most amazing thing about VR is that you actually have a feeling of presence inside the game when you're wearing it.
I almost feel like that freaked me out, man.
Yeah, or it can be freaky too.
Right.
The problem with VR and my problem with it is motion sickness, and I'm not sure. I mean, really, it's 2 things. It's motion sickness and it's the fidelity of what you're looking at, like the pixels. And I want them to get better and better. But the problem is that when you're putting these tiny screens right in front of your eyes with magnifying glasses and lenses there, it's like you have to pack these pixels incredibly tight.
You've got like the penises are coming too close to your face is what you're saying.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
And it's like you're starting to smell things you didn't.
Yeah.
Think
you're like, I
smell.
didn't want that.
Yeah. You're involving more senses than just your sight at that point.
Yeah. Nobody wants to smell a penis that close.
But I think that we did hit that breakthrough point with that who was the company, Oculus. I think we did pass that threshold, but we are in a bit of a lull period where it's like, how do we solve these problems that people are noticing, where it's like it's a little bit expensive, you kind of need room to use it.
Yeah.
And
you need like a padded room. You don't want to hurt yourself too.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I've whipped my, I've done something where I had to like throw a ball or swing something in the game and have hit things in my room.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's an issue as well.
And your room's full of knives. So that's
because I'm a big knife guy. That's right. Yeah. 1,000 knives just faced right at me.
Right.
So yeah, I don't exactly know. I think that we're going to see something more in the line of what the Meta Ray-Bans are doing.
Yeah.
where it's just glasses that you're wearing. And so this is more like this. You've probably heard of AR, where we have the VR, where it's just like it blocks everything out, and now you're in virtual reality.
Right.
AR is augmented reality, so you're able to see things around you, but you're able to see things like superimposed on top of that reality.
Okay. Right.
And I think that is a nice middle ground. And um, I think that maybe in the next 5-10 years we'll see a lot of advancements there.
I
So
think that's what people
that's
see when they're really drunk, right? Is augmented reality a little bit, or if they're on some kind
yeah,
of drug, maybe.
yeah.
Maybe tripping off acid. How do you feel about like film and music and social media DNA kind of making its way into games? I mean, film's kind of always done it, but they're getting more and more with that. How do you feel about them doing things where they're going to kind of make it like TV seasons, where like one season you have like this part of the game and then something else is released, which they kind of do that now. They get like the DLCs and everything that you can download. But like, how do you feel about that? Because obviously, when we were kids, you could go get a system, and it was still pretty expensive even back then, but it would be the system, it would be 2 controllers, it would be everything you need to play, and it would be at least 1 game that would come with it. Now everything has all this extra money that you have to pay, like if you want this content, this content. How do you feel about all that?
I'm fine with it, but it needs to be high quality.
Yeah.
And it can't be a cash grab. It's got to be something that's made with love. There's got to be real purpose behind it. The continuation of the game, I think there's a lot of bonuses that come with it. I think if you come out with a game that's a really great game
Yeah.
that people love, then why not let them keep playing the game they love, and you keep adding, you work hard and you add something new on top of that that expands that core experience that they love. So I think that I don't like the blanket statement. I think that people throw the baby out with the bathwater when they say like they don't like all these microtransactions and all that stuff. I
Is that how it
agree.
keeps losing babies? All right,
Yeah.
continue. Yeah.
Well, maybe just keep the bathwater next time and
Yeah,
see if
maybe.
there's a
Yeah.
baby in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah. So people say that, for example, transactions are all bad, and I don't think they're all bad. I don't even think they're a little bit bad. I think they could be great, but the problem is that they're not made by loving devs. They're made by like business graduates who get into the gaming, business industry because they think there's a buck to be made there by
Right.
gamifying and casinoifying these games. And that's not, I don't like that. I'm not for that. But I think that, but I think having a live marketplace built around the game that you love, where the marketplace is filled with reasonably priced items that have real added value, I'm all for that.
Okay.
And that includes, by the way, the like you said, like the DLC,
Yeah.
continued game as a service sort of experience, like the World of Warcraft or whatever
Right.
else. Like you have all these MMO type games that sort of continue this. And I think that if they're done well, I'm all for it as well. And I think that's a great addition to gaming.
Well, also, I think it's great when they do. Was it The Last of Us, the first one, when they kind of like left it off on like a cliffhanger? Or was it? Did they do that on The Last of Us, the first one? I don't remember, but where if they're leaving like a movie, like there's going to be a sequel to the movie, so they're doing something where it's like, oh, it's like how all horror movies end. You're like, you think the killer's dead, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, he's not there anymore. You just knocked him out and shot him 48 times, but he survived that. So, there's that. But I wanted to ask you one more thing, and then we'll kind of get into our final thoughts with all this. But these social spaces that are kind of coming up with like people playing Fortnite and all these other games where it's like an immersive experience, but it's with a bunch of people around the world. And there is a lot of things happening. First of all, and this is kind of out of the gaming sense of what we're talking about, but there's a lot of sex stuff like happening where there's older people playing with younger people, and then that's how maybe they start meeting up, and then who knows what emerges from there. But there's also bullying, and there's other things that are happening. So you have like these, I've heard stories about like 11-year-old, 12-year-old kids just like saying the raunchiest stuff to people. And I guess if you're in that moment, I can understand. I mean, hopefully that doesn't like continue over to your everyday life. But I mean, is there anything we can do besides monitoring it all, like to make sure that this isn't, because I feel like that some of that is going, just like social media, it's going to affect like people's mental health at such a young age and stuff, especially when they're not even to the point where they're, you know, they're not even fully developed yet in their brains and stuff. So that things are going to be coming and happening. So what do you say about all that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think about different angles of that because I'm starting off with the idea of anonymity in these games, in these worlds where you're talking to other people and what that means. I think that when you increase anonymity, meaning that you don't know who you're talking to and people don't know you and you're allowed to say things where um nobody can trace it back to you, the actual person in reality. I think that it increases this sort of like toxic behavior. But at the same time, on the opposite end, you have to balance privacy concerns, right? So like if you have somebody, especially somebody who's underage, and they're playing and it's like and now you've logged it, this is Billie Jean and they're, this 13 and they live here, this is their address, then it's like these, and
A
we've
lot
seen
of
with like
13-year-old
security.
Billie Jeans out there.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
And we see these like security concerns where you can't really trust these companies to keep your data private,
Yeah.
whether it's from hackers or it's
Yeah.
from, just some other lax way that they do it, or just from like advertising, like they actually genuinely just sell your data because that's how they make their revenue. Um, I think that if you're talking about things like bullying and this like schoolyard type of stuff, I'm going to say, so I don't know how popular this is, but I think that this is still like a problem that starts at home, where I think developing the person into somebody who,
Is
parent-child
respectful, right?
relationships is
Yeah. Yeah.
respectful,
Yeah.
and also somebody who has a certain amount of confidence in themselves. So
Yeah.
that way, if you get a random piece of bullying from online or somebody who says something to you, it really doesn't have to affect you that much because you have more confidence in who you are and at home, with your relationship with your parents and things like that growing up. Uh, so I don't know if you can get rid of bad actors altogether. I do think that I do think the other issue of like actual security concerns, we have to put the pressure on these companies to make sure that these things are locked down and as secure as they can be.
Right.
Um, and then also like I said, find a nice middle line between anonymity and between privacy concerns. Something where people don't feel like they're able to just shout whatever they want into the void at other people,
Yeah.
but where where like all your data isn't readily available online. So I feel like that's
That
kind of
is
a
a fine line.
non-answer.
It's going to be tough
Yeah.
to, yeah. Um, yeah, I agree with you. Hatred, racism, that's not stuff you're born with. That's stuff you're taught. People are, whether it's your parents or somebody close to you, or maybe nowadays it could even be TV, like, like media or something saying, hey, hate these people, hate these people. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. I'm excited to see gaming as a whole, just to see like how things proceed. AI, I think, is going to be big, like you said. Um, are there any final thoughts on your end about the future of gaming? I mean, is there anything that you really want to see that you haven't talked about yet, or anything else that you want to mention?
Well, I have this sort of like something I want to say about gaming in general and the future of it is that it's going to keep growing. And I think there's concern about people spending their time in a video game. And I understand where that concern comes from. It's like, should you be spending 8 hours a day inside this game? Probably
Right,
not 8 hours a day.
right. Which
Um,
they're probably already doing on social media anyway. So it's like, what do you want them to do?
yeah,
Like,
when you take social media and you take television
right.
and you take all these other sort of
I think
ways
that's
that you
been the
can just,
worry from every advancement of technology. Are you going
yeah,
to just sit there and listen to the radio all day long? People back in the day, they were like, oh my God.
I think we're going to see entire economies inside of video games that can sustain people. And I'm not I'm not putting a morality to it. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but I think that's where we're going to see that headed. And I just want to say this, which is that I think that when you go to a factory and you work 12 hours a day and you're
Me?
punching metal.
Me when I go?
Yeah, you. Yeah, you,
me.
Matt.
Me specifically.
I think when you go to a factory and you're punching little pieces of like metal rivets into holes for 12 hours a day, and then you see your bank account go up by a certain number at the end of the week, I
Yeah.
think that's already a game that you're playing. It's just a
Right.
game that Big Daddy
Are we
government
just
came up for you.
describing like how Bitcoin started basically when people were like mining for Bitcoin in like games and stuff? Like, I mean, that was kind of weird, but then it ended up being something real, like after a while.
Well, I mean, Bitcoin started as an actual digital currency project to replace
Or maybe I'm just thinking of a Big
centralized.
Bang Theory episode. I might just be thinking of that.
Maybe I
But
don't know.
yeah,
But yeah, because governments are sort of have centralized currency, they control the currency, and so therefore they can sort of. It's like the money in your bank account doesn't. Do you really even own it? It's like you owe it all back to
yeah.
the
It
government.
used to be backed by gold, but not anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah,
But that was still gold that the government had, right?
right.
They had it locked down somewhere, and I think that Bitcoin. I'm not saying I don't know. There's pros and cons to its implementation, but I think Bitcoin, the idea is really great. Trying to develop a currency that's for the people, by the people, that one central government doesn't control.
Talking
But
about
unfortunately,
FUBU
that's right. Yeah,
for you
yeah,
by us. Yeah. Okay.
yeah. So what was my original point that I was trying to make? I
I'm sorry.
forgot.
I always screw up your original point by trying to make some
No,
snarky comment.
no. I wanted to finish that. It's that I think that what a lot of people do in real life is a gamification of real life. I think that if you really want to live real life, you're talking about living in the woods, hunting animals, and foraging for food. I think that the society is an abstraction on top of the brutal realities of life, and society is a sort of gamification. And then even modern society is a gamification of early society. And then so if you go one step further, and we're just looking at a screen playing a game and we're able to actually make real money and sustain ourselves, but with the things we do in there, you can look down on it. But I think there's an argument to be said that's just a natural abstraction on top of society. It's just another form of it. So, so I try not to have too much of a strong morality either way about what that really means or whether or not we should or we shouldn't be doing that with our time.
Right. Right. All right. Yeah. Very very cool. Like I mean, obviously, you shouldn't be out there like picking up hookers and then letting them do their business and then paying them and then punching them when they get out of your car and stealing the money back and then running over people and then trying to get 5 stars. Like you shouldn't be doing any of that. Um, but hey, there are people out there that I've seen look like they're trying to literally play Grand Theft Auto in real life. And it's kind of, well, I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. Well,
All right.
keep that to GTA.
Yeah, keep that to
Yeah.
GTA. Just do it in the game. Stop trying to do it in real life. All right. Well, that's how we feel the future of gaming's going to go. I'm excited. Are you excited? I'm really excited. I'm waiting for like just a crazy version of Pong to be released, and it's going to be like the greatest thing ever. That's what I'm waiting for. It's just a real simple boop 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 boop, but make it a little boop, 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 boop. See, I just made it better. I
A
double
little
booped.
faster. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
You're the future.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is our episode. It's been another good episode. And until next time, we'll see you and have a good time.